Yes. Good afternoon, sir. Welcome again, everyone, for the second session of the day, sponsored by AICTE ISTE on artificial intelligence and robotic process automation. Today, I am highly honored and feel privileged to have been given the opportunity to address our next speaker, Dr. B.N. Chaudhary, sir, who will be delivering an interesting session on national education policy. Our speaker, Dr. B.N. Chaudhary, has completed his PhD from IIT Bombay. He is university's first rank holder in ME and university's second rank holder in BE. Currently, Sir is the principal of Sardar Patel Institute of Technology, Mumbai. Prior to this, he worked as Deputy Director in College of Engineering, Pune for 5 years and member, Senate Representative, Board of Governors for 12 plus years. Sir has held various administrative roles at College of Engineering, Pune, such as HOD of Electrical Department, Dean Academics, Dean Quality Assurance, Chairman for PG Admissions. He has worked on several committees formed by the Pune University, Shivaji University, Dr. Bamu and Dr. Batu for faculty selection, local inquiry, continuation of programs and other tasks. At university level, he had been a member of Board of Studies of various universities like Pune University, North Marathwada University. So before the program starts, I would like to welcome Dr. B.N. Chaudhary sir and everyone present over here who are an important part of this session. I would like to request everyone to kindly cooperate with us throughout the session to make it successful. And last but not the least, I would like to request our speaker, Dr. B.N. Chaudhary sir, to enlighten the audience with your precious words. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Pallavi, madam, and thank you, the organizing committee of this FDP, coordinator, convener of this FDP, and faculty of MCA, Sakina, madam. Thank you very much for giving me an opportunity to share my views or to narrate the provisions of the National Education Policy 2020 to you, right? And I will take a chance to also share what little efforts we are doing at SPIT to be in the tune with the national education policy, to ensure that we are also moving in the direction and in the path shown by this national policy. I will share that also with you. Friends, from last 2 years, on every nook and corner, on every conference platform, and on every FDP you might have attended, there is a session on NEP. Though it is by compulsion, AICT, the sponsoring agency, is smartly asking the FDP convener to have one essential session. Few things in our society need to be compelled as well. Uh, because otherwise we don't look at those things, some things which are of national importance closely. So, in order to ensure that the policy reaches to the stakeholders, particularly people in the education, people dealing, living in the higher education domain, perhaps the AICT has taken these steps. Nonetheless, what may be the cause? Let us let us focus few minutes, some half an hour on going through what this national education policy is about. We are a big country, friends. We are a country with thousands of higher education institutions and several thousands of primary and secondary education institutes. If you just start comparing ourselves with the many countries in the world, barring the exception of China, the numbers are amazing, right? The number of students aspiring for higher education in this big country, it's far more than the equal for similar numbers in entire Europe, right? Number of schools we need to open every year, even exceeds the number of schools in the Australia, right? So the size of system is too large in our case. We have close to 43 thousands of institutions offering higher education, close to 2 crore students, right? We are talking about, I mean, higher education is about 2 crore students. So when we look at the UGC, uh, UGC, which deals only the higher education, that to be not dealing with the medical education and allied educations, almost 2 crore students they address. AICT, almost 60 lakh students AICT addresses. And it's quite very big numbers. As a country, we are producing 1.5 million engineers every year. US produces 1.5 lakhs, so it is 10 times less number, right? Uh, we few a couple 2 3 years back, we were the number one country in the world. Uh, However, admission scenario uh, in past few years has reduced our graduating ability, and now today perhaps we are word number two as per as number of engineering graduates we roll out from our higher education system. So our numbers are amassing, and hence there are big challenges every time, challenges in front of our policy makers every time they frame the policy. Last time, 34 years back, in 1986, there was a policy made on education. And then I remember somewhere in the beginning of this century, Sam Pitroda was asked to make education policy for this country. I remember we attended few workshops at New Delhi also. One workshop I attended in New Delhi also, where the salient features, there were national conferences and national seminars arranged to discuss and deliberate on the Sam Pitroda's recommendation on education. At that time, I remember he said, "Okay, let us break big universities and let this country have 1,500, around 1,500 universities." So he was suggesting, let us break the university and let every district has a university, instead of one university catering to the needs of several institutions, several districts, and universities, public universities becoming jumbo size university. He suggested, let us have small universities so that they move fast, so that they are more flexible, they are more adaptable, and they use more freedom. But subsequently, for one or the other reason, that policy could never come up, was not declared, was not wasn't approved. But there was a framework. There was. Thankfully, this government and had focused the education, and after and it has appointed wise people in different domains. So I am told around 200 to 250 different academicians, researchers work together and in framing this policy, and this policy is a is an outcome of several deliberation discussions and almost 2 years efforts of those 200 to 250 uh, illuminaries, stars in academics in different domains. right? So they have looked, they have studied, they have looked at what world is doing, they have analyzed the present conditions, analyzed the problems of Indian education system, and and come out with recommendations. Formally, those recommendations were announced in 2019 as in a draft form, and in 2020, after receiving several massive suggestions, more than 1 lakh suggestions, society had given. Very interesting and very voluminous work. Once the draft was declared published by the government, they invited suggestions from different layers of the society. Uh, More than lakh suggestions were received. All the suggestions were scrutinized, filtered out. People have gone through each and every suggestion, and then again they modified, and final draft of that modified policy uh, was published as a national policy. And then we started discussing about national policy, and now people at government, at ministry level, and at other levels, now several committees are working now uh, towards the gradual implementation of the recommendations of this national policy, right? See, this national policy is a very concentrated stuff, and this has to be detailed out. Every page, every recommendation, every micro recommendation every recommendation has to be break out into the intermediate and micro levels, and separate policies, separate guidelines or regulations need to be published. So it is a big process and big way ahead. Just to quote, say the policy statement may have one chapter on higher education. In that chapter, there may be one mention of making higher education multidisciplinary. So on that recommend, and there might be several suggestions under that multidisciplinary aspect of the higher education. So several committees are independently working on each recommendations of that multidisciplinary education aspect. So, and then some of these will get converted into regulations, and our regulatory bodies will are getting tuned with the recommendations and making those changes in their approaches, in their policies, so that as a country, as a society, we adopt to this recommendation of national education policy. One of the recommendation of national education policy is to expand the education, right? Is to make education more inclusive, is to make education more flexible. And you must have noticed that any AICT and now UGC both have started making some efforts in this direction as a regulators. AICT has 2 years back, when the draft was there, it announced that at least 20% courses students may be permitted to take through books and open learning platforms or NPTEL, whereas UGC a year back, 6 months back, now has said you can have a 40, even up to 40%. So why these policies, why these regulations are coming? The original source is the recommendation of the National Education Policy. So UGC as a regulatory body, AICT as a regulatory body, trying to get tuned or align with the what AICT, what National Education Policy has suggested. Many of you must might be the faculty. Few of you might be the faculty from TechCube institution. And there was a World Bank project, technical education quality improvement project, supported by World Bank, and it has done a positive impact on technical education systems of the country. Let me share with how that project, though it was a funding project, but there are always non-tangential tangential benefits of some act. So Maharashtra government, I mean, in the first phase of TechU, Maharashtra government decided to Maharashtra government decided to participate in this project. There were only six states in the country which had shown willingness to participate these projects, and Maharashtra decided that its leading institutions like College of Engineering Pune, Visit EI, Walchand College Sangli, HGGS Nanded, ICT Chemical Technology at Matunga, all these colleges should take part into this World Bank supported project. And one of the conditions the center has smartly put was, if you wish to take part in this project and get some funding, you need to confer autonomy to the these institutions, academic autonomy to this institution. See, it was the center who planned this project, and they put some eligibility condition that compelled state government to confer the autonomy to the different colleges. This happened somewhere in 2002 and 3, first phase of TechU. Now we witness in the country that trigger, now that tiny start, that small beginning has expanded now. Same Maharashtra, which had only one, so had no engineering college autonomous in 2003, today has got 35 autonomous engineering colleges, right? And the country today has close to 400 autonomous engineering colleges into the state. The Maharashtra, the higher education colleges, and then the RUSA came. Again, Rashtriya Uchchatar Shikshan Abhiyan came. And they also encourage to become autonomous and all. Again, smartly the eligibility conditions were defined, and that, so as an outcome of that, we are witnessing more higher level or higher institution of higher level education, right, are becoming autonomous. So coming back to the point, so government through its regulation, its recommendations, making some impact, and we are observing a change happening in the education system. So one project has impacted a lot, and several colleges today in the country, in Maharashtra, and also in the country, are enjoying the autonomous status. Few of the autonomous colleges are getting converted into universities. ICT has become university. So this, if when I look at this development which took place in last 15 years, and 15 last almost 1 to 2 decades, uh, definitely change has happened. And I suppose similar changes, similar things will happen at higher multitudes, higher proportion, due to the strategic changes which different regulatory bodies will make in implementation of the NEP. So though our system is big, though they're very, very large changes, big revolutionary changes are suggested by NEP, we need to positively respond to that and contribute in implementation of national education policy to the best of our abilities, best of our possibilities, so that this big education system observes the change. get change in coming decade. Uh, One of the as our domain is higher education, let me constrain myself into the space of higher education, and then as we are engineering institution, let me constrain only towards the professional education. So so I won't much talk on the changes suggested for the primary and secondary education, but I will talk more on the changes suggested in the higher education space, and that to be particularly in a professional education space. As I told you, we have 40,000 plus colleges, and uh, and we have very unique affiliated education system which British had given us. British and while they've left us, and in their country they are not following they made their universities I mean, institution autonomous. I don't know for one or the other reasons why we continued, we expanded, and we fortified our affiliation system. Why Britishers introduced the affiliation system had different reasons. They were controlling large part of the world: South Africa, Eastern countries, Eastern Asia, India, right? And again Canada and some part of Canada. So more than 60%, more than two-third world was under the umbrella of British Empire. And they wish to have a uniform education policy, and they introduced, say, they entered in this big country through Calcutta, and there was a college at Karachi. They wish to have a control over what Karachi is doing, and that's why they smartly put the affiliation system, right? And universities and colleges, so this affiliation system had roots in this strategic policies in those days. Unfortunately, we continued that. There are few traditions of British we are unfortunately continuing. I don't know why we are still continuing the way in which we do graduation ceremony, the way in which our judiciary system works. We are a country with at many places in summer the temperature rises to 45 degrees, but still I mean, we our lawyers put those black coat and two-piece or three-piece and go in the courtrooms, right? Legacy continues, right? British legacy continues. So somewhere we need to think. Anyway, coming back to the higher education, for unfortunately we continued the this affiliation system, and rightfully the national education policy has attacked this affiliation system. While word is talking about making giving full, our word has given autonomy to its institutions, even the government institution, even the public funded institutions. In among the institutions, departments are given autonomy, and the academic autonomy has percolated to the faculty member, to the course. Go to the good US university, every course teacher is autonomous. He decides the way of evaluation. He decides what should be the evaluation scheme, and he decides his own curriculum, right? And here, unfortunately, in engineering domain, we had cultivated a very different model. It started with VTU in Karnataka. Now every state has got a technical university, and in that technical university, all engineering colleges in the states are attached. Thankfully, in Maharashtra, at least, there is no compulsion to the institutions to get affiliated. But in Karnataka and in other states, all engineering colleges have no choice. They have to be an affiliated colleges of a technical university in the state. So now you have got a university, so-called university, where several colleges, say for example, In Anna University, more than 500 colleges, singing colleges are attached. In Andhra, more than again 500 colleges are attached to the JNTU. And in Uttar Pradesh, Abdul Kalam Technical University. In Kerala also, same university. In GTU, MPTU, PTU, Maharashtra, Dr. Baba Sahib Ambedkar, Lonare Technical University. There also now 70, 80 colleges voluntarily join. And now these universities, Vishwavidyalaya, are they really doing research and fulfilling the objectives of the university? Rather, they have become the examination bodies and examination centers and the boards like CBSE or SSC board or MSBT board. These are the engineering. So called these universities are the engineering boards. How many people in Maharashtra we recognize and appreciate the research happening at Arogya Vidyapit at Nasik? For us, it is an exam body taking the MBBS examination in Maharashtra. So this model is 180 degrees. While world is moving in one direction, we have cultivated these models which are totally in opposite what world is doing. While world is liberating the institution, we are centralizing the education. We are centralizing the education in the state at least. Now, if all engineering institutions in the states are connected to the state university, and that state university, technical university, is making the curriculum and offering to the state, the question arises: then why not to have one nation, one syllabus? I mean, if you have one state, one syllabus, if we talk about one curriculum to the all engineering colleges in Uttar Pradesh, which has a population of 230 million people, almost close to the Europe's population, then the question arises: why not to have one university, one curriculum, model curriculum of AICT, one university? Let us have a Bharat Technical University and attach all 3,000 and have a strong logic also, right? So this um, this was the state of our higher education, professional engineering education in the country. And national education policy has attacked and has suggested a big change. They have declared that there won't be any affiliated institution in 2035. So, friends, today this year we are entering the 75th year of independence. So, the model which we have cultivated, we expanded, we respected what British had left us, British had given us for their benefits. Uh, for whatever reasons, we have grown that model, we have cultivated that model, we have made that model so big, right, so concrete. And now a national education policy is saying, okay, let us break this affiliation system. It is the massive change, big change. So so this is going to happen in next 10 years, and that's why government is encouraging autonomy, graded autonomy. Being government is relaxing those norms, right, trying to have more inclusion, trying to encouraging the institutions to go for autonomy, right? And we will witness several autonomous colleges, and those colleges will be converted to the independent unitary universities, and we will witness several universities in the state where the like US or Europe, every degree awarding, every higher level institution is a degree awarding institution. So there is going to be a big change. Young faculty need to be geared up for this change, and this change perhaps may take few years. Though the national education policy has given a timeline of 15 years, looking at the encouragement, looking at the enthusiasm these regulating bodies are demonstrating, I feel it's 5 years story. This break, this will happen. This will start happening profoundly within 5 years. It may take few more years for all institutions to become independent, but we will see a rapid growth in degree awarding institutions in coming year. So today, VCTI, today College of Engineering Pune are affiliated institution. They are autonomous. Look here, College of Engineering Pune is almost 170 years old. VCTI is almost 140 years old. These are affiliated institutions of the universities which are younger to them. Pune University is 70 years old university, but old college Pune University is much younger to the College of Engineering Pune, but it is an affiliated institution of Pune University. Right. Thankfully, government hasn't compelled. Otherwise, College of Engineering Pune would have become an affiliated institute of Lonar University, where the institute is 170 years old and the university is 20 years old or 10 years old. Right. And this is very crazy state. At many states, we are observing the old institutions which have legacies and they are attached to a newly formed public universities. Now, perhaps this will go, and perhaps tomorrow we will witness these colleges functioning as independent degree awarding institutions and will compute and will address the challenges of present time. If so, this for me, this is the biggest change national education policy has suggested. De-affiliate the institution. We have witnessed concretizing the affiliation system. All those LICs and faculty recruitments, everything done by universities, and universities becoming only the administrative bodies and exam centers of for the affiliated colleges, perhaps will go, and perhaps universities will go to that old regime where they are known for their research, they are known, and universities are for higher education. People are doing post graduation, PhDs, and universities are focusing on that. Their energies are focusing on that, and they are competing with the world class institutions. This is the biggest change going to come in next 10 years. So what we did is in 70, 80 years of history of higher education post independence, we are going to reverse it in next 10 years. We all must be ready for that. Second thing, they suggested, let us have a three type of institution. Now, very interestingly, uh, we feel in our society, IITs are the research institution, Indian institutions of technology. At the opening of the IITs, when the country started these IITs, the then Prime Minister Pandit ji said that tomorrow these will be the temples of the India. They will create technologies, and that technology will make will contribute to the economy of this, and will help this country to be a developed nation. Those were the words of Nehru 70 years, 60 years back, while launching, while framing the IIT policy and establishing the IITs in the late 50s, in the late 60s, right? But the word today recognize IITs as the best undergraduate institutions. to the word, IITs have the best of best undergraduate students. World doesn't recognize them for their research contributions, right? I mean, when I for any U.S. university, for any European university, when you talk about IITs, they recognize, yes, their undergraduate students are far superior, and they put red carpet to those UG students in their for admissions in their campuses. So the institutions which were started to do research to make technologies finally are I mean today are recognized for rather an undergraduate world class or superior class uh, uh, undergraduate education, right? Similarly, so whether IITs are research institutions or undergraduate institutions, I mean, there is a question mark. Whether College of Engineering Pune, VJTI are undergraduate institutions or research institutions, there is a confusion, right? And because country expects people, I mean, our all NRF ranking and all those parameters uh, expect that every institution should touch all domains, but in a large so in a such a diversified infrastructure, in a diversified nature of institution, diversified availability of the resources, it may not be possible for all institutions to deal all the domains. And that's why NAP has rightly suggested, let there be three class of institutions: research institutions. So predominantly only research will happen in this institution, and undergraduation will be byproduct. Education, UG will be byproduct. Mainly the institutions will be PG and PhD, research institution. High quality research will happen. There will be another kind of bifocal institution. Perhaps it will have both the component, some research taking place, but institute is focusing on both. 50% focus is on UG, I mean undergraduate education, and 50% on the research, 50% on the PG education. And third category of institution is the education institution. They will just produce a good undergraduate colleges, right? Perhaps that was the scene in 80s and 70s and 80s, where the state colleges were mostly the undergraduate institutions. They used to produce good quality undergraduate graduation. They used to be feeders for our national institutions, where they were mainly in national institutions. People, I mean, they used to get produce MTechs and PhD from the output of the state colleges. Today also in IIT system, who is doing the research? It is mainly the output of the state colleges, output of the private and public funded affiliated colleges, which is stepping into the IITs and then doing their masters and PhDs, and which is ultimately producing the country's publications and patents and what research we claim as a country. So the second big suggestion of the national education policy, let us have a three classes structure, three layer structure: research institution, bifocal institution, and undergraduate education. In first institution, undergraduate education will be byproduct. In second institution, it is equally balanced institution. 50% focus on research, 50% focus on undergraduate. And in third class of, in the third layer, what will happen? Focus will be on undergraduate education. Research may happen. Research may be a byproduct. Research may be an add-on thing, but focus is in on undergraduate, just like German model. In Germany, there are only two layers of institution. One is the technical universities, and one is the applied science colleges. The applied science colleges, they do have PhD faculty. There, in Germany, to be a faculty, you have to have a PhD degree as well as 5 years industrial experience. Then only you can become a faculty in a college of applied sciences. So, and by law, College of Applied Sciences cannot produce PhDs. They cannot produce postgraduates. Only in few exceptional cases, post graduation is allowed, but PhD is not allowed. PhD is only produced by technical universities. So that is a double layer structure in Germany. Similarly, national education policy is instead of expecting the same stuff, same outputs from everyone, I have witnessed in last 10, 15 years. See, we are following IIT model, and our regulators are also expecting everything should happen at every place. A college near in a taluka place also should do research, should also have publication, should also have patent, should also have industrial, should also develop technologies and talk about industrial research and all, right? Not possible, not possible, because finally you need, see, it's not possible. See, there are differences in the resources, differences in the uh, potential, surroundings, intake, and there are several factors which are responsible, and therefore one cannot expect everything at every place. And perhaps national education policy has realized this and has rightly spelled out a let institution define its color. Are they research institution? Are they claiming to be the research institution? Are they claiming to be an undergraduate institution, or are they claiming to be both institutions? So that's going to be an interesting choice to the institution. That will give a direction to the institution. Uh, you cannot aim as a research institution and keep recruiting the non PhD faculty. That is mismatch. That is mismatch. Once you declare yourself as a research institution, you will have no choice than to induct quality PhD faculty, quality people as a faculty to fuel that research. You will have no choice than to induct quality students as a research scholar. Then only research will happen, right? And once you have focus on undergraduate, there may not be the need of postdoctoral and high quality research experience, where on the contrary, more on how comfortable, how suitable that candidate is for undergraduate education is important. First suggestion of national education policy is deaffiliate the colleges, make degree awarding college. Second suggestion, important suggestions for the national education policy, have a multi-layered institution, research focus, UG focus, or bifocal. Third layer, third is create a national foundation of research. Today, there are several funding bodies. If you go on listing, at least 2 dozen different funding agencies fund the research projects. And mostly those research projects are given to IITs or centrally funded institutions. Catch 22 situation, right? If you have already taken have lot of many projects, you are given a new project, right? Many faculty in those institutions have multiple projects, whereas the other colleges are striving. So, national education policy, and secondly, private colleges, it's very difficult to fetch public funding, right? For some reason, People, I mean, private institutions are always labeled as are always looked at suspiciously, right? There were the days where higher education was mostly private in our country. Post independence, we started giving the grants and converted that education into the as a granted education, and those, and then again privatization started. Unfortunately, things have happened in such a way that people have suspicion, people have doubts about the private institution. But we forget that 90% of the engineering education in this country has become a private education. Only 10% institution in the country are centrally funded. Out of three, sorry, state and centrally funded. Out of 3,500 colleges, almost 3,000 colleges are private education. So if the country has progress in IT, if we have progress in a service sector, if India has progress in last 20 years, a big contribution is made by the self-funded institution because they represent 90% of education. How could TCS, from where the TCS could have employed 3 lakhs 50,000 engineers, out of which more than a lakh are girl students? Thanks to all these institutions which have dared, which have sustained, which competed each other and built up a massive system which has included, expanded, and has reached every corner of the country, and at least has provided an opportunity to the students to learn, and rightfully identifying this contribution made by the private institutions in the higher education and in particular professional education sector of the country. The NEP has said we shall not differentiate now between a public funded institution and the private funded institution. So next 10 years perhaps we are going to witness a big fund flow for research in capable private institutions as well, right? Because as policy has declared, there will not be any differentiation between a public funded and private funded institution as far as disbursement of the research grants is concerned, and that there will be one common platform for disbursement of grant. So that scenario, only one layer of institutions, handful institution getting almost 80% of projects, and remaining 80% institutions is 80-20 rule, may not happen, may not continue, and perhaps we shall uh, observe a good spread, good distribution, and good support to the main institution, in spite of whether they are private or public. Finally, every institution, whether it's public institution or private institution, produces the graduates which serve the society, which help the economy, right, which help the humanity, right? We have to be broad, we have to be broad. Even look at the US education system. They are giving autonomy to the public funded institution. Though the funds are coming from a treasury, from public resources, but still the institutions are given a lot of freedom to decide their functioning, their way of working, and admission policies and whatnot. So this is the third major recommendation of, and the fourth major thing is that they are saying liberate the uh, professional education, make the professional education interdisciplinary, right? And this perhaps we have to focus, we have to also focus, and this is a very doable, it can be immediately done, because it is only related with you are opening the mind, you, because we have institutions in our society. We have all sort of institutions, but we are working in silos, right? Within one university, departments are not collaborating. Hmm. Physics department is not collaborating the history department or the arts within the same university. Within the city, there are several institutions. See, if, in Mumbai or in Pune, in Nagpur, you have all your institutions in all domain. But are we collaborating? Are we opening the minds? Are we making our education really multicolored, holistic, and that is the strong message this policy is giving. Everywhere, the stress is on the holistic development and making education multidisciplinary. And perhaps we, as the engineering institution, must to learn that. And let us not only limit to the engineering courses, science and maths courses, but also include arts, humanities, finance, so that multicolored flavors, multidisciplinary flavors are given to the given students. We have done quite few steps in this regard. I will share that shortly. So this multidisciplinary promotion of multidisciplinary education in the professional education, we haven't changed. See, way back 35 years back, in my curriculum, there was one course on economics. Today, also, if you go, hardly one course on management or economics, right? We don't feel arts, uh, law, history are also the important domains of learning, and some courses be introduced. One of my colleagues daughter is has studied in UCLA. She had gone for undergraduation, and I asked her, what are your courses? What were the courses? Rise and Fall of Society was the first course she has taken, right? And hardly there was any engineering course in the first year of the curriculum. Mostly the courses were of this nature: English literature, English, Rise and Fall of Society, finance for engineers were her courses at UCLA. The number, if you see the number of humanities courses in US universities, it is quite large in the total curriculum. And the curriculum itself is of 120 to 125 credits, and out of that, nearly 20% are given to humanities, right? Here we feel that 160, 170 credits are lesser, and we feel we should have more engineering subjects, and we don't give importance to the other domains. Perhaps time and NEP is suggesting to break this culture, be open, make education holistic, multidisciplinary, so that learner enjoys different domains. Put liberal arts. That is the message. That's why they have titled that chapter as liberalize professional education. Right? Perhaps uh, many US, I have read one report which had suggested, which the report that came, the report that came out in 2006. So in US, few universities decided to think what should be the education in 21st century, and they decided if they wish to be innovative, if they wish that their graduates will remain innovative, and their graduates will have distinctive features, then they suggested perhaps uh, they have to liberalize the engineering education. They said just forget that engineering education is a professional education. Liberalize engineering education and think it as a professional education at the postgraduate level. That was the recommendation. Uh, Perhaps we are a different country, we may not need that, but somewhere we have to have significant, I mean, we have to have focus on holistic development. It's just not the knowledge, attitude and skills are also important, and we must recognize that attitude, skills, and knowledge all should get developed among the learner, because society doesn't expect only knowledge from graduates. Attitudes and skills are also important. Perhaps that is the message of outcome based education. And that's why out of several 12 program outcomes, only 5 are related with the knowledge. Remaining are related with the attitude and skills. And attitude and skills will need a sort of background holistic development. So that these are the major recommendations of national education policy for the higher education, and in particular professional education. There are many others: digitalize, open learning. Thankfully, due to Corona, the only thing happened, positive thing happened perhaps due to Corona, is that at least our large system is forcefully introduced to the potential of digital learning. From the beginning of this century, such digital learning was available. MIT had started this century by opening its courses in the form of OCWs, and subsequently open courseware, and subsequently different platforms had started. uh, Salman Academy, and then EDX, Coursera, and our ministry has also started NPTL from last 10 years. But we haven't dared ourselves to introduce those courses in our curriculum. Thankfully, with the, I mean, accidentally, now the entire country overnight is forced to adopt this online learning. Today, I am also talking, doing online learning. You are doing FDPs, but technology had enabled us for this from last 20 years. But only recently we started taking FDPs online. So at least situation has compelled to utilize the mode of utilize this technology, and you see the inclusion. You see the number of FDPs happening and the beneficiaries happening. Right? It may not have the same test, but if you see the numbers, they are mind-blogging. 10 times the FDP enrollment has increased. More than that, Colonel Venkat is going to join. We may ask him what is now the enrollment to the FDPs. So online education for more inclusivity, digital education for more inclusivity uh, are again the recommendations. These are few major recommendations. I will conclude taking quick summary. First, de-affiliate the systems, have multi-layer institution, three types of institutions, have a common research foundation, have holistic education, undergraduate education, in particular professional education, and encourage digital learning for more inclusivity. Still, you know, people talk about society having more number of engineers, graduates, and all, but let me tell you, we when we got independence, our GER was 2%. In 2007, it was 12.5%. Their country decided at that time, our economy was rising. There at that time, we thought we shall be developed nation. And Kalam had already dreamed India superpower by 2020. And then policymaker thought, how can this such a superpower will not have enough graduates, because GER of developed world was way ahead. So we decided to double the GER, and that has happened. Thankfully, in last 15-20 years, we could increase our GER. Today, our gross enrollment ratio is 24.5. We are trying to make that ratio 35 by 2030, and it's more than 50 in many countries. Sweden, it is 80, right? Korea, South Korea, again it is 75 plus. US, same figure. Germany, the world average is 24, and we were at 12 after 60 years of independence, and that's why this massive expansion perhaps has happened. This digital mode will again expand it, will make it more inclusive, so that we have a respectable GR. At least country like India should reach the world average, and that is what our policymakers are doing. And let us look at all these things positively. It is our responsibility to ensure that we are not reducing the vertical height while expanding the horizontal base of our education system. That is challenge for everyone, for the country, for the society, for the institution, for us as a faculty. Okay, the country needs expansion of higher education, and we should ensure that the aspect ratio of this higher education is not changing.